Y'all with me? We locked in. Live from Manhattan. We live from Manhattan. If I move it over like that, you can see probably that other courtroom too. But we're gonna leave it right here. I need everybody to share this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Send this video to all of the justices on the Supreme Court. Send it to all of their clerks. Share this video with them now. Hurry up. Do it right now. Do it right now. I got my coffee right there. I got my coffee. Got my coffee. Anthony Duncan, what up? Anthony Duncan first in line. Mars, what up? Charmaine Stewart. My man asking me on a Sunday, you must don't work. You ain't no real entrepreneur. In the world of content creation and in the world of entrepreneurship, there's no such thing as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's every day. It's either you go every day or you don't go at all. I ain't got no job. I work for myself. Anthony Logistics, Anthony Blackman, DT, Joseph Alexander, Gucci Black Redor, Toom, Khalif Boyd, Kelly Williams. Hey Kelly, that was you that signed up for my email? Teo A. Chi-Town, what up? If you want to get on my emails with soul distribution list, send me an email to the podcast with soul at gmail.com and I'll add you to my private distribution list where every once in a while I send out dope emails. Phil the Deal, Special K, Happy Sunday, Mars, Peter Bong. I shout everybody out. So look, right off the bat, before you do anything, Elizabeth, what's going on? Send this video to all of the justices on the Supreme Court. Do that right now. Send it right now. Send it to Clarence Thomas, Sotomayor, Chief John Roberts, all of them. And send it to their clerks. Send this video to the Supreme Court. Hurry up. Do it now. Do it right now. Hurry up. Do it right now. What's up? How you doing? Everything good? Check my coffee out right there. Check my coffee out. No sugar in my coffee. No sugar in the coffee. Yo, Vaughn, what up? Shout out to Mattapan. No sugar in the coffee, and it tastes nasty. But I got a sugar addiction, so I gotta leave the sugar alone so I can stay ripped up and cut up with the calisthenics. Check me out. I don't need no sugar. No high fructose corn syrup, no added sugars. Never that. So, Sean, why are you bringing in the Supreme Court? I'm bringing in the Supreme Court for several reasons. First of all, I just read the letter that Tenny Garagos sent to Judge Submaranian requesting that Puffy be allowed to wear street clothes to his sentencing other than jail clothes. She sent that letter asking him to permit that. That shouldn't be no problem. I need y'all to send this to the Supreme Court of the United States. Shout out to all the judges in the Second Circuit. I'm going over your head not to disrespect you, but I ain't got time to be playing around. I'm frustrated with Judge Submaranian and his lack of decision, his indecision. I'm frustrated with the Southern District of New York lying and cheating and committing perjury. Send this video to all the judges on the Supreme Court. At the top of that building right there, it says, the truest administration of justice is the firmest pillar for good government. The truest administration of justice is the firmest pillar of good government. But to all of the justices on the Supreme Court, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the Southern District of New York prosecutors introduced witnesses and evidence that they knew was false or should have known was a lie, and it was perjury. And it was proven in court that several of the government witnesses committed perjury. Dawn Rashad committed perjury. She was cross-examined by Nicole Westmoreland. Mia, Dawn Rashad was suing Puff for $6.45 million. She committed perjury on the stand. Mia was suing Puffy for $10 million. She got cross-examined by Brian Steele. She committed perjury on the stand. Hold on. Hold on, stay right there. Don't go nowhere. No. Brianna Bogelin committed perjury on the stand. She was cross-examined by Nicole Westmoreland. She was suing Puffy for $10 million. Capricorn Clark committed perjury on the stand. Kid Cudi committed perjury on the stand. Cassie committed perjury on the stand. She sued Puff for $20 million. And in her civil suit, Supreme Court of the United States, all the justices of the Supreme Court of the United States, all due respect to y'all, I think it's 9 of y'all. I could be off with the number, but whatever number it is, all respect to y'all. Cassie filed the civil suit with her lawyer, Doug Wigdor of the Wigdor Law Firm, and on page 119, paragraph 102, they commit perjury. If you turn the page to page 120 of Cassie's civil suit, Cassie perjures herself again, and her lawyer engaging in attorney misconduct, filing false what's the word I'm looking for? False testimony in a federal court. Her lawyer should be held accountable. Now I need all of y'all to email the New York State Bar Association and report Doug Wigdor of the Wigdor Law Firm, and in your email tell the Bar Association that he knowingly and willfully filed false allegations against Puffy that he knew was perjury or should have known was perjury. With just a little bit of due diligence and research, he would have known that Cassie was lying. But he did it anyway. He did it anyway. And they jerked Puffy, they ripped Puffy off for $20 million. Cassie did. United States Supreme Court, Jane Doe got on the stand and she committed perjury. Puffy was paying her rent. Invested 25 grand in her business, bought her $25,000 worth of furniture, goddamn Bottega bag, diamond bracelet. She got mad because Puffy only bought her a diamond bracelet, and Puffy bought Young Miami a diamond bracelet and a diamond necklace. He bought her both. He only bought Jane Doe the bracelet. She was mad about that. Jane Doe was mad about that. Jane Doe got mad because Puffy bought her a Bottega bag, and he bought Young Miami a Chanel bag. She was mad about that. Jane Doe was constantly mad with Puffy about Young Miami. Puffy wouldn't let Jane Doe put no pictures or no content of Puffy and Jane Doe on Jane Doe's Instagram. He said, no dice, never that. Don't never post nothing with me and you. She did it one time without his permission. He saw it and made her take it down. He saw it and made her take it down. She had to take it down. But Young Miami could post whatever she wanted on her Instagram with her and Puff. Puffy didn't care. She was mad about that. Puffy bought Jane Doe some flowers, and then Puffy bought Young Miami some flowers. Puffy was hitting both of them at the same time. He was knocking Jane Doe down. He was knocking Young Miami down. He was knocking Gina down. He was knocking this other girl named Chelsea down. He was knocking everybody, all the honeys that came near Puff, he knocking them down. So he bought Jane Doe some flowers. Then he bought Young Miami some flowers. But Young Miami's was bigger. Her bouquet was bigger than Jane Doe. Jane Doe got mad about that. So all of this came out in the courtroom right there. That's the federal courtroom right there. Now, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going. Last Thursday, on the 25th, there was a hearing. There was a hearing right there. They go to federal courtroom right there. See that building up there? Right there in the middle? See that building up there? That's where the hearing was at, on the 26th floor. All the justices on the Supreme Court, Alexander Shapiro, filed a Rule 29 motion for acquittal. Alexander Shapiro filed the Rule 33 for a new trial. You don't want to give us the Rule 29? Bet. Give us the Rule 33. You don't want to give us the Rule 33? Bet. Give us the Rule 29. But you got to give us one of them. You got to give us one of them. Rule 29 or the Rule 33. Judge Submaranian has proven himself to be indecisive, and this was throughout the trial. I don't think, me personally, I was at the courtroom every day to the Supreme Court. All the Supreme Court justices, I was there every day, right there. I was right there on the 24th floor, in the overflow. I didn't see Judge Submaranian be biased against Puff or racist against Puff. I did not see that. And I'm a foundational Black American. I've been living 56 years. I know when I see racism and I know when I see bias. RJU Jones, my channel member right there. All my channel members to the Supreme Court justices They got that green name. They pay $10 a month. I shout them out when they come on there. Check me out. But what I did see with Judge Submaranian, and send this video to Judge Submaranian too, so he don't think I'm talking behind his back, and what I say on this live, I can say to his face. Yes, I can. Yes, I can, and yes, I would. And I will if we ever meet. What he has proven himself to be is very indecisive. He is a new judge to the bench. He's only been a district judge for 2 years. He's the first South Asian judge to ever be appointed in the Second Circuit, Southern District of New York. So he kind of like the token black, right? So he kind of like nervous. He kind of like nervous to make a move, nervous to do something. He has shown himself indecisive Supreme Court justices several times with the removal of juror number 6. That was a Friday morning. It was a Friday when juror number 6 got removed. Hold up. Let me get some coffee. Hold up a second. Stay right there. Stay right there. Don't go nowhere. Stay right there. Hold up. Coffee nasty. Ain't got no sugar. It's nasty, but I still drink it though, because I got to stay ripped up and cut up when I do my calisthenics. Nigga got to stay looking right. In that morning, it was a Friday morning. I remember it because I was there every day. Maureen Comey, who was the lead prosecutor for the losing team, to all the Supreme Court justices, the Southern District of New York, they lost. They got beat. Puffy's lawyers and them beat them. But anyway, getting back to that Friday, Maureen Comey, who was the lead assistant U.S. attorney for the prosecution against Puff, who got fired after the trial, stood up, and I think it was her and Emily Johnson, Assistant U.S. Attorney Johnson, they both was arguing to Judge Submaranian that juror number 6 needed to be removed. That they didn't know if he was from the Bronx. The Bronx is right there. Bronx is over there, up there. You gotta go past Harlem, it's on top of Harlem. Or if he was from Jersey. Jersey right there. Bronx right there, Jersey over there. And they wanted him removed. Alexandra Shapiro, she sat over here. Alexandra Shapiro sat over here in the back. Maureen Comey sat right here in the front, and then all the other assistant attorneys in the front. It was 6 U.S. attorneys with 2 other ones supervising, so it was 8 prosecutors prosecuting Puffy, the most ever in the Southern District of New York, the most ever in the history. So Puffy said, bet, y'all got 8 prosecutors, I'm gonna hire 10 lawyers, I'm gonna hire 11 lawyers. However many prosecutors you get, I'm gonna hire more lawyers. Puffy hired 10, 11 lawyers. He had 10 or 11 of them. 10 or 11. Puffy had more than them. Puffy had more than them. So Alexander Shapiro stood up and she's telling Judge Submaranian, there's no reason for juror number 6 to be removed. And she's giving case law. She's making strong arguments. Then Maureen Comey is standing back up. No, juror number 6 got to be removed. Alexander Shapiro. Nah, never that. Juror number 6 got to stay. Prosecutor Emily Johnson stand up. Nope, juror number 6 got to be removed. It could be Johnson, could have been Smizer, could have been Slavic, could have been one of them other U.S. attorneys too, but Maureen Comey was definite. So they arguing back and forth. They arguing back and forth. And Judge Submaranian, Supreme Court justices, came out his mouth. I heard him. I was sitting right there in the overflow. He said, listen, I've already spoke with juror number 6. I've already told y'all, y'all been asking me all week to get rid of juror number 6. I ain't doing it. Quit asking me. Juror number 6 stays. Then Maureen Comey jumped up, bang. She jumped back up. She said, well, let's get in touch with juror number 6's employer to find out definitively if he live in Jersey. Who that right there? Hollywood T. That's my girl right there, y'all. California in the building. Hollywood T. Look at that T right there. Hollywood T with the super chat. Hollywood T. Alicia Butler, one of my other, look at the green name. Look at the green name. Them my channel members right there. Maureen Comey said, yo, Judge, let's get in touch with his employer to find out for sure if he from Jersey or he from the Bronx. Or it might have been the other U.S. attorney, Alexander Shapiro. Alexander Shapiro jumped back up. She said, nah, never that. Now, if you get in touch with his employer, now you are intimidating the juror by sending a message to him that his job is at stake if he don't come back with a guilty conviction. You know, you can't reach out to my man's employer. You can't reach out. No. Don't reach out to his job. Don't reach out to his job. Then Judge Submaranian out his mouth again and say, yo, I'm tired of y'all talking to me about this. Juror number 6 stays. But he said, what I'm gonna do? I might, he even said I may, or I might speak to juror number 6 when we take our lunch break. And you understand, I don't know. But as for right now, juror number 6 stays, and y'all quit asking me about this. Boom. We go through the whole court date. It's a Friday. It's a Friday. It's a Friday. Who that right there? Boom. We go through the whole court day. The court day ends. Everybody leaves. ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox News, Podcast was sold. All of the major news networks, we all leave. All of the public. Judge Submaranian comes out after everybody dipped, Supreme Court justices, and says juror number 6 has been removed. And I think Xavier Donaldson got up, Alexander Shapiro got up. Everybody was like, yo, what are you talking about? How do you change your tone from the morning like this and the evening you like this? He said, well, let me think about it over the weekend. But that was just some bullshit that he said just to calm people down. But at the end, juror number 6 got removed. Supreme Court justices. See, that's that indecisive thing. And it was as if he had to speak to somebody to be guided as to what he could do. Because he's only 2 years on the bench. Should have never got this case. Kelly Williams, thank you for the super chat. Another time, this is the second time, to the Supreme Court justices. When Puffy beat the RICO, and when he beat the SEX trafficking, when 12 jurors of different ethnic backgrounds, different genders, all citizens of New York City, I didn't acquit Puff. Alexander Shapiro didn't acquit Puff. Maureen Comey didn't acquit Puff. Judge Submaranian didn't acquit Puff. China didn't acquit Puff. Ukraine, Russia, Palestine, Israel, NFL, baseball, none of them acquitted Puff. The 12 jurors from New York acquitted Puff. They acquitted him. They acquitted him. 12 jurors. 12 jurors acquitted Puff. 12 jurors. The 12 jurors acquitted Puff. When the acquittal came back, the prosecution was mad. They lost. They got beat. Mark Agnifilo stood up and he asked the judge. He said, "Judge, I was there. I saw him. Mark Agnifilo, Alexander Shapiro sat on the end in the back. The Southern District of New York only had one row of lawyers. They had one little row in the front. Puffy had 2 rows of lawyers. He had lawyers in this row, and then it was a back row. He had lawyers back there. The Southern District of New York had 1 row. Puffy had 2 rows. His rows was better than their rows. Nicole Westmoreland sat on the corner. Xavier Donaldson sat here. Then there was some more like paralegals, Anna Estevallo. And then on the back row, Alexander Shapiro sat here. Jason Driscoll sat here. Brian Steele sat here. Puffy sat here. Tanny Garrico sat here. And Mark Agnifilo sat there. Puffy sat back there in the back row with Puffy sat in the back row. He sat in the back, way in the back, with his lawyers. Mark Agnifilo stood up and he said, "Your Honor, we asked that Mr. Combs be allowed to go home. The jury has spoken and the jury gave him back his life. We are willing to put up $1 million bail with 3 of his family members signing the bail. We will agree to whatever conditions you set forth. He could stay. If you tell him he's got to stay in Miami, cool. I have his passport. I have all of the family's passports. His mother, his sister, his kid. I got everybody's passport. His plane is in Maui, Hawaii. It's not even here. He is no flight risk. You can restrict his travel to Miami, to his house in LA, or to New Jersey or New York so he could fly in and meet with us. Judge Submaranian said, "When are you talking about Puffy getting released?" Mark Agnifilo stood back up and said, "Now, today, now, right 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 now." Mark Agnifilo said, "I know he's got to get processed out. He's got to go back with the marshals and sign himself out and get processed out, but we want him to go home tonight. We want Puffy to go home tonight. That was from Superfly. That was when Priest told Eddie, said, Eddie, you playing with my money. He said, man, Eddie, if you don't get me my money tonight, I'm gonna put that girl of yours out there on Horde Row. After Mark Agnifilo told Judge Submaranian he wanted him to go home tonight, Judge Submaranian, out his mouth, looked at Puffy, and Judge Submaranian was actually excited for Puff. He was happy for Puff. And he looked at Puffy and he said, okay, Mr. Combs, I'm sure you do not want to go back to MDC Brooklyn. And Puffy looked at him and did this. And Judge Submaranian said, okay, all right. And from his vibration, from his energy, and the inflection in his voice, he communicated, without verbally saying it, that he was going to let Puffy go home. And then he looked over at Maureen Comey and he said, Miss Comey, does the prosecution have anything to say? Then Maureen Comey jumped up and she started going off, yelling, talking loud. Oh, he got convicted of the Mann Act. These are very serious charges. They carry 20 years. She mad. She mad because she lost. You understand? She lost. But I don't know how she ever think she could have won, because Puffy had the best lawyers in the world. They the best. They the best. Puffy had the best lawyers in the world, and then he had the best YouTuber goddamn reporting on the case. So he had the best. He had the best. Then Judge Submaranian, sidebar. After Maureen Comey got up and did all of that, yelling and all that, Judge Submaranian said, okay, this is what we're gonna do. This was about the verdict. The verdict came down. It was a Friday, July the 2nd, 2025. I was there. The verdict came down like about 10:37 a.m. It was in the morning. David Weber, what up? So after Mark Agnifilo and Maureen Comey did all that, it was about 10:48, 10:49, somewhere near, a little bit before 11 o'clock. So Judge Submaranian said, all right, bet. Yo, you give me a letter, Maureen Comey, and then Mark Agnifilo, you give me a letter, and I'll meet y'all back here at 1 o'clock. So boom. After he said that, I dipped. I came over here, I set up my camera, and I let y'all know that Puffy beat the feds at trial, and he didn't rat. Puffy ain't no rat. You understand? You know, Puffy is not a Tekashi 6ix9ine. Puffy is not a Sammy the Bull Gravano. Puffy is not a Young Thug. He's not a Woody. He's not a Gunner. He ain't none of that. Puffy took him to trial. He didn't cooperate. Puffy didn't rap. So I came and told y'all that he beat the feds at trial, right? So about 12:50, I dipped back to the court. I dipped back to the courtroom. Boom. Right over there. I go to the overflow. When I get to the overflow, Tisa Tells, with her ugly ass, is sitting there. She in the overflow. She ain't never come to the overflow, not one day. But now all of a sudden, after she lose, she don't go back to the main courtroom where Puffy's moms, Puffy's sister, his family, Holly. She don't go back up there. She come to the overflow thinking it's sweet in the overflow. So I walk in the overflow, right? I walk in the overflow. I'm chilling. I walk in the overflow. Tisa Tell sitting right there, her ugly ass. So she start ice grilling me, right? She start ice grilling me like, so I'm like, so I ice grill her back. Right? So I'm like, you know what I'm saying? She's sitting down. Cause soon as you walk into the overflow, it's one door, then it's a little space, then it's another door, and you in the courtroom, and then it's a bench. It's a church bench right there. It's a church bench right here. She's sitting right in the first seat. So she ice grilling me. I'm ice grilling her. We both ice grilling each other. Boom. Then another YouTuber right there, I think the dude was a brother from North Carolina. He having words with her, calling her a liar. You understand? So now she got problems in the overflow. So we sit in there. 1 o'clock come, no judge Submaranian. Damn, where this nigga at? All right, he'll be here by 1:15. 1:19, no judge Submaranian. 1:33, no judge Submaranian. 1:49, no judge Submaranian. 2 o'clock come, damn, where this nigga at? The U.S. Marshals come in the overflow and say, yo, ain't no more court. Y'all get the hell up out of here. The U.S. Marshals kick everybody out the overflow. So as we coming out the overflow, this other YouTuber, I ain't gonna say his name, he going at Tisa Tells, calling her a liar, calling her all kind of names. And she talking back, but my man is hot. He up in her grill. Yo, you a liar? You don't never tell the truth. So now we all by the elevators. So the elevator come. So I'm chilling. I ain't going nowhere because I want to see it. I'm chilling like Matt Dillon ain't robbing, ain't stealing, right? So I'm just chilling and shit. I'm watching the whole thing. Boom. My man is on her. Boom. So the elevator come, the elevator door open. It was like, how many elevators up there? 8 elevators, 4 on this side, 4 on this side. The elevator come, everybody start getting on the elevator. So the dude, the YouTuber that's arguing with her, he get on the elevator like, yo, get up, tell her, Tisa Tell, get on the elevator. Come and get on the elevator. She wouldn't get on the elevator. She wouldn't get on that elevator. She didn't get on that elevator. She waited for another elevator, And then she came down and she had armed security. She the only YouTuber that had armed security every day. Every day. So she come down, she go by her security, but the YouTubers, Facebookers, Instagrammers, TikTokers don't care. They still getting at her in front of her security. You understand? But anyway, enough of her, man. Because she don't do nothing but tell lies. So, now, here's where we are. This is a motion dated July the 30th, 2025 by Alexandra Shapiro. And Puffy's conviction was on 18 USC 2421. Transportation to engage in prostitution. Right? Now, Alexandra Shapiro, in her Rule 29 argument, says that the prosecution didn't have sufficient evidence to support and prove their conviction of the true meaning of prostitution, and that there may have been some misunderstanding in the jury instructions about what prostitution was. Now, the Southern District of New York says, well, Puffy, y'all gave the definition of prostitution. We went with y'all. So, but anyway, Alexandra Shapiro and them saying, so what? We still could file a Rule 29 and get to the right definition. Now, the Mann Act, hold up, let me get some coffee. Hold up. The Mann Act is the amendment of the original statute, which was the White Slave Traffic Act. Now let's go to that. Now this is straight from the paperwork. This is on pace. I don't do what Tisa Tells do and these other YouTubers, you know what I'm saying? The Art of Dialogue, you understand? None of that. None of that. Vlad TV. Man, shout out to academics. Shout out to DJ Academic. Shout out to DJ Academic. Academics help me. Academics is of Jamaican ancestry. I'm foundational Black American. We have different ancestry, but that's still my brother, still my man. He helped me. He helped grow my channel, grow my money, so I could feed little Sean and I could take our clothes to the laundromat and get our pillowcases and our sheets cleaned up at the laundromat. Check me out. The White Slave Traffic Act, this is page 22 of 62. This is a 62-page document. The White Slave Traffic Act makes it an offense to knowingly, the White Slave Traffic Act makes it an offense knowingly to transport any woman or girl in interstate, foreign commerce, or in the District of Columbia, or in any territory or possession of the United States for the purpose of prostitution, debauchery, or for any other immoral purpose. Commercialism is not essential to a violation of the act. In the Caminetti versus United States, however, as a general rule, prosecution should not be instituted in the so-called non-commercial cases. Now, what does that mean, Sean? What this means is that the Department of Justice has a policy and an amendment they filed in 1986 that said, yo, we don't even want you to bring no prostitution case to federal court unless it's for financial gain, pimping, brothel, SCX trafficking, where there's a financial gain of the purveyor of the prostitution, right? This ain't Puffy's case. Supreme Court. Send this video to the Supreme Court. This ain't Puffy's case. Puffy was not making money. Transport any woman or girl. He wasn't transporting Cassie. That was his lady. He wasn't transporting Jane Doe. That was his lady friend. Even though she sell kitty cat for a living, but that was his lady friend as in respects to what was going on as far as that is concerned. What was being transported was male entertainers. Male entertainers that Cassie arranged and paid for. Jane Doe arranged and paid for. Cassie called Clayton Howard. Cassie called Daniel Phillip. Cassie called all the escorts. Say, yo, come through and get you some. Come get some. Jane Doe called Cabral. Jane Doe called Paul. Jane Doe called Antoine. Jane Doe called Don and told him, yo, I want some. Come and hit this. Them two reached out to the male escorts, you understand, and brought them over. They made the travel arrangements, and Cassie and Jane Doe paid the money. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Because it came out in the testimony. It came out in the testimony to the Supreme Court justices. Page 21 of 62. Page 21 of 62. See, I read this stuff, but I got it on the top of my dome. I could recite. I got a tremendous memory. But anyway, the Department of Justice has long declined to enforce Camernetti in Cleveland. Given the intervening changes in both the statute and Supreme Court precedent, it is highly doubtful that the Camernetti and Cleveland remain good law. In part for that reason, this is Alexander Shapiro. Even before the 1986 amendment, the government itself the Southern District, New York itself, has long declined to prosecute non-commercialized acts of voluntary prostitution. For over 75 years, the Department of Justice has stated that Mann Act enforcement should be limited to cases targeting defendants who violated the statute for commercial gain. And Judge Submaranian knows this shit. Judge Submaranian, you know this, because I know you watching this. But you playing around. You playing, man. Playing. Page 12 of 62, Alexander Shapiro. We are aware of no other case in which a person was convicted under 18 USC 2421, even though he made no money from the quote-unquote prostitution, didn't have sex with the alleged prostitutes, and didn't arrange the transportation with the intent, the mens rea. You gotta have mens rea, with the intent of committing sexual assault, sexual trafficking, or a sex crime involving a minor. Indeed, under long-standing Department of Justice policy, Mann Act charges are not filed in similar circumstances. Send this to the Supreme Court. Send this to the Supreme Court. Hurry up. Send it now. Hurry up. Hurry up. Send it to the Supreme Court now. Hurry up. Email it to them. Send them this video. Hurry up. Do it now. Do it now. I will be interviewing Alexander Shapiro on my channel. I'm gonna interview Puff too. I'm gonna interview Puff too, watch. Bet you. I'm gonna be interviewing Nicole Westmoreland on my channel too. Check me out. Page 22 and 62. By 1988, enforcement priority shifted to cases involving sex trafficking and minors. Yet, non-commercial cases remain deprioritized. Page 23 of 62. Unless minors are victims, prosecutions under USC 2421 and 2422, which involved coercion or force, should generally be limited to persons engaged in commercial prostitution activities. Prosecution of persons other than those engaged in commercial prostitution enterprises as panderers, operators of houses of prostitution, or call girl operations, and those of acting for or in association with such persons should not be instituted without consultation with the general litigation and legal advice section, unless minors are victims. So you can't even bring a prostitution case to the feds as a U.S. attorney unless you first consult with the general litigation and legal advice section. In the absence of any sex trafficking charge, the standalone Mann Act counts never would have been prosecuted. Send this to the Supreme Court. So that the reason I'm talking to y'all Supreme Court justices is you need to call Judge Submaranian and advise him on what to do, because he don't seem to know. That's little son. That's my son right there calling. That's my son. Hold up. Hold on, see what he calling. Hold up. Hold up, stay right there. Hold up, let me see what Sean wants. Hold up. Stay right there, don't go nowhere, don't hang up. Stay right there, hurry up. What's up, man? Where you at? You going back out? You got your school clothes out for tomorrow? You sure? All right. Be back in the house at 7 o'clock on the dot. I'll be there. Be at the house at 7. Don't leave from where you at 7. Be at the house at 7. All right. All right, sorry about that. Now, check this out. Now, this is the transcript from the hearing last Thursday. And at this hearing, Alexander Shapiro took Judge Submaranian to school. Maureen Comey wasn't there last Thursday because she got fired. Emily Foster, Meredith Foster, and Christine Slavic were there on behalf of the Southern District of New York. The Southern District of New York had 2 prosecutors. Alexander Shapiro, she went up against both of them by herself. It was 2 of them. Alexander Shapiro was by herself. Alexander Shapiro, I read the whole thing. I memorized a lot of it. But anyway, Alexander Shapiro had to school Judge Submaranian about the legal language in the Freeman case. They talked about the Musacchio Blazik case, the O'Brien case. What's some other cases they talked about? The Theriot case. See, I remember all these cases, right? And at the hearing, Alexander, send this to the Supreme Court. Alexander Shapiro said that the Mann Act has a history of being racist, right? And what's the other word she used? I'm gonna read it for you. But first, let me come off the top of the dome with it so I can show you that I remember shit. Alexander Shapiro said that the fact that Puffy is even being held in MDC Brooklyn, charged with this crime, it's an embarrassment to the United States of America that the Mann Act has a history of being racist and that there was no money made, right? And that Puffy is allowed to have his girlfriends. They are swingers. They do threesomes. And if they want to invite male escorts, so the male escort and Cassie could do the raccoon, or the male escort and Jane Doe could do the raccoon, and Puffy be back here filming. Do right there. Put your leg on the chair. Cassie, put your leg on the chair. Yeah, like that right there. Like that right there. All right. Now, you go. Let me see you go run out the kitchen with a bologna sandwich and then jump into his arms. Action. That was what Puff was doing. Right? And he is standing over there. What came out at the trial, this is what they said, he's standing over there in the corner, butt naked, jerking off. Right? And then when Cassie and my man get finished doing the raccoon, Puffy will tell the dude, yo, move. He tell that nigga, he say, move, let me get some. And then Puffy against Cassie and Jane Doe, and then Puffy would do the raccoon, and then after he get finished, Puffy leave. He dip. He be like, all right, bet. I'm good. I'm good. Peace. Puffy is dip. And then Cassie would look at the dude and say, yo, you want to finish? And my man would be like, hell yeah, I want to finish. And then they would finish. But Puff would be gone. Puff would be gone. And another element of the Mann Act is that, and it's in this document, Alexander Shapiro points it out, that Puffy never has sex with the alleged male prostitutes. So where is the Mann Act? So this is why I'm telling y'all, to all the Supreme Court justices, Chief John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Sotomayor, right? And I'm right down here. This is the Thurgood Marshall. This is the Thurgood Marshall Federal Building. Thurgood Marshall was the first foundational Black American to ever be on the Supreme Court from Baltimore. His family from Baltimore. His mother, I looked them up. They foundational Black Americans from Baltimore, where Puffy people from. Puffy people from Baltimore too. Foundational Black American. I'm foundational Black American from South Carolina and Georgia. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Check me out. Check me out. So, the Supreme Court, this is nonsense, man. This is nonsense. And the losers, the Southern District of New York are asking for 70 months to 87 months for this. For this. But the reason I'm talking to y'all, the Southern District of New York, the reason I'm talking to y'all is because Puffy and Alexander Shapiro eventually are going to appeal it up to the Supreme Court. So Judge Submaranian, with his indecision, is going to have his first high-profile case appealed because he hasn't been able to be man enough to look at the evidence for what it is. This ain't me. This is the evidence. This is the evidence. The paperwork. And acquit Puff. Foster and Slavic in the hearing, Foster said that Cassie and Jane Doe testified on the stand, on the record, that they were engaging in prostitution. Alexander Shapiro stood up and said, told Judge Submaranian to his face, said, look, Miss Foster's, I don't know what trial she was at, but it couldn't have been at the one I was at, because nowhere does it reflect in the record that Jane Doe or Cassie ever uttered the words out of their mouth that they engaged in prostitution. So, but Foster is on the losing team, so they do stuff like that, right? That's why they got beat. Then Alexander Shapiro had to straighten out Judge Submaranian about the Freeman case. And then Slavic is bringing up aiding and abetting in prostitution, willful intent. Come on, man, what the fuck is that, man? What is that? Either he engaged in prostitution or he didn't, according to the stringent rules of the Mann Act. It ain't no aiding and abetting, willful. Get out of here with that. Get out of here with that. So, hold up. You get some coffee. Wait a minute. So Judge Submaranian, in the hearing, said something about the Freeman case, talking to Alexander Shapiro. Alexander Shapiro said, what? Man, I disagree with you 7,000%. What you saying is wrong. The Freeman case don't say that. The Freeman case says this. So even Judge Submaranian, you know what I'm saying? He ain't as good as Alexander Shapiro. He is being schooled by Alexander Shapiro. Foster and Slavic are being schooled by Alexander Shapiro. She holding forth, and she's an attorney. He the judge, right? And this one last thing, then I gotta go. I'm not gonna be out here with y'all all night. Judge Submaranian then asked Christy Slavic, he said, Christy Slavic, do you have any cases of a Mann Act conviction where, hold up, where there was no money made in the process? Hold on. Here go Alexander Shapiro right here after Judge Submaranian. Because look, if I'm doing this, right? I got my honey here. She's an adult. You got the male escort here. He's an adult. And I say, yo, y'all get busy, right? And I'm filming. The First Amendment of the Constitution grants me that right. That's my First Amendment. Excuse me. That's my First Amendment right to do that. So Judge Submaranian, let me tell you what he said. What does that have to do with the count of conviction? The transportation was for the purpose of Cassie and Jane and the escorts to engage in prostitution. That is sex for hire. The mere fact that they videotaped those incidents and then may have consumed them later, how does that give rise to a First Amendment issue? Alexander Shapiro said, well, let me explain. The judge cut her off, right? Because just to use the example of Freeman and Theriot, right? In those two cases, there was no evidence. And the courts made that very clear, that the purpose of the actual sex acts was for the gratification of the person taking the video or the participants. Instead, the cases proceeded on the basis that the purpose was the filming. And so then a First Amendment issue was brought to bear. But here, the Southern District of New York is saying that this was sex for hire. It was not performance for hire, and the jury couldn't easily determine that based on the facts in the record. Alexander Shapiro, check out Alexander Shapiro. Actually, in Freeman, there were alternative holdings. And the court was quite clear that even if the evidence supported the notion that the person doing the filming had a motive of sexual gratification, that it would still be protected by the First Amendment. That's explicitly stated in Freeman. So I don't think that's right what you said, Judge Submaranian. To the justices of the Supreme Court, check this part out right here. This is on page 48. Alexander Shapiro. This is dated September 25th, 2025. This is the hearing. Alexander Shapiro. The last thing I'll say is just, I know the court is aware of this. The statute that Puffy has been convicted of violating is possibly the most infamous law in the history of the United States Code. Its racist and sexist origins and early enforcement are well documented and beyond dispute. And even 100 years ago, in a very different age, the Mann Act statute was being criticized by multiple Supreme Court justices who sought to limit it to commercial purveyors of prostitution. And even in its early days, and certainly later in the 20th century, many judges and juries refused to enforce the Mann Act. We only talked about that a little bit in our brief, but it's discussed at length in this book. The whole history of the Mann Act statute is really, I would submit respectfully, an embarrassment to the United States of America. Nearly 75 years ago, as we talked about ad nauseum, the Department of Justice stopped enforcing the law in non-commercial cases and has followed that policy up until this day, other than in cases involving minors or sex trafficking. And under that policy, this case would never have been charged had the government not brought the RICO charge and the sex trafficking charges. But it was unable to prove those charges, and the jury respected them. So, what we're left with is a case about adults who traveled interstate and participated in a threesome. An adult couple that chose to have sex by bringing a third consenting adult into their private sex life. It's unclear why this conduct should be criminal in 2025, even if the third person was a professional who was paid to participate. So, for those reasons, as well as all the reasons in our briefs in which we've discussed today, we submit that Puffy should be acquitted of the 2 Mann Act charges. Hold up, I'm gonna read something else, yo. Hold up. Where's that at, man? Hold on, I know it's here. Judge Submaranian asked Slavic of the Southern District of New York, did she have any cases? Hold on, I'm gonna find it. I know it's here. Might be on page 41. What's up, y'all? Here we go. Check me out, Judge Submaranian. Send this to the Supreme Court. So Judge Submaranian says, Miss Slavic, just one additional question. Are you aware of any case, any Mann Act case, where the transporter, the defendant, did not have, at the very least, a financial motive? Miss Slavic, in other words, John cases, Your Honor? Yes, Your Honor. The government is aware of other cases. I don't have them at my fingertips, but we plan to raise them in our sentencing submission, certainly. Judge Submaranian said, in those cases that you don't have, that you're not prepared with, and you knew he was coming here today, the person who did the transporting actually was a participant in the sexual activity? Miss Slavic, that's right. Submaranian. Miss Slavic, do you have any case that involved a transporter who was transporting separate people but did not have a financial motive? Do you understand what I'm saying? Miss Slavic, no, not really. Submaranian. So, person A transports person B to have sex with person C, all right? So they're doing the transporting, the other elements are satisfied, but they don't have a financial motive, but they nevertheless are prosecuted and convicted under the Mann Act. Ms. Slavic, I understand, Your Honor, and yes, we do have examples. Again, I think that we'll refer to those in our sentencing submission as well. So, Submaranian asked Slavic for cases, and she didn't have them in the court. And she knew, because there are no cases. There are no cases. They're not good. She wasn't prepared. It's getting dark out here. I gotta go. Follow me on all my platforms. Follow me on all my platforms. Podcast with Soul on Spotify. Podcast with Soul on TikTok. Podcast with Soul on Instagram. Podcast with Soul on YouTube. All over. Sean J. Free Puff. Shout out to Alexander Shapiro, Mark Agnifilo, Tenny Garagos, Nicole Westmoreland, Xavier Donaldson, Laptop Man, Jason Driscoll, Anna Esteveo, Nicole Westmoreland. All of them. Southern District of New York got beat at trial. Puffy beat the feds at trial in New York City. You already know. That's what it is. The podcast was sold all day. Peace.